Well, hello people, and welcome back to part 30 of the build guide 2. I hope you're having a wonderful day. And welcome back to, I can finally say it, downtown Orchid Bay. Welcome back everyone. What a wonderful time last time, right? These plazas came out tremendously well, and mostly well received. Some concern actually from a new type of police which we haven't seen on the channel before. The sunlight regulation police, perhaps making us aware that a few of these towers are perhaps a little bit close, which now on kind of second reflection, I'm kind of probably appreciating that a little bit more, I think. We can maybe do with a touch more room, so expect some sort of asset refinement within the skyline, but nothing too much will change. And look at this, right? really enjoying this view down, and today we're going to be working on the oceanfront park, which is going to essentially run from this area here, with this line being the cutoff. And then we're going to do some fun things with unique buildings, lots of open park space in and around this area. The last episodes have been very much kind of focused on transport infrastructure and super tall towers. So I just want to kind of chill out now, right? For part 4 of the downtown project, we're going to come to the waterfront park and have quite a lot of fun, I hope. So let's build the oceanfront park for Orchid Bay, shall we? So the keen viewers on the channel would have heard last episode that I was sort of teasing the asset I was going to put in the park, and went through all the comments, searched for it as well. Nobody got it right, so we're going to put it in right now. So I want to make sure that we're aligned with the roads on the transport hub, so I'm actually going to bring this straight across here and see that it happens to perfectly line up with that node, which is ideal. And then I want to draw this a lot bigger than I actually need it for right now. And then I also want to check here how much distance is between the front of the transport hub, which is a distance of 880. So I want to replicate that as well. Let's come off our guideline here. And we'll do 880 here, which should hopefully feed us back through perfectly into that one there, which it does. Cool. So this here is what's going to hold our unit building. And that unit building is going to be, if I can find it, this is making my reveal incredibly anticlimactic. There it is. The observation tower. Right, okay. And we want to put this bang in the middle, because this is going to give us a really distinct aesthetic, right? It's a bold choice, I'm aware. Again, it's going to be quite divisive, I think, but it's going to have a fantastic view, of course, across the downtown plazas. If we get on board with the actual viewing deck here, they can see all the plaza spaces down here. It will one day be a tremendous viewpoint to spot planes from the international airport over this way, and just the general sort of view of Orchid Bay. It's going to have a fantastic view up and down the coastline, and it's going to form a real kind of cool, important centerpiece for our oceanfront park, isn't it? So the observation tower is going to go in, but I don't just want this to be sat here on its lonesome. If at all possible, I'd like to surround this with a little bit of plaza action. So very heavily repeated plaza is what I want to work with here. Should we go with the flower garden one? Little flower plaza from Plazas and Promenades. I do like when you piece these together, it kind of makes like a cohesive walkable space, like they can pass from one plaza to the next. Makes it very walkable and nice, doesn't it? So I think I can get on board with that. And now we can see the observation tower definitely wants to face at this front here as well, doesn't it? And we want lots of fancy over-the-top trees here. Let's go for, I think, a California Tall is going to be most appropriate, isn't it? Let's go ahead and get the palms around, at least centered around the towers. And then why don't we actually downgrade these roads here into a simple little grass number? So I'm thinking I'm actually going to run these across the couplet system, which of course isn't going to generate any traffic because it's just pedestrians walking back and two, and hopefully this road's going to start getting used soon because it's just no one wants to come down here. I'm hoping that they will. There we go, at least they're coming now, pocket carring into the new towers. It is of course going to want a service point, we'll worry about that in a second. There's another unique building I want down here as well though, and we're going to go to the Seaside Resorts pack for this one, and we're looking for the Super Pier, which is this one. The Golden Park Pavilion is a super boy. Oh, actually no, that's not the one, is it? It's this one. Yeah, oh, the new Orchard Ocean Pier. That's perfect, right? I realise we're Orchid, but it's close enough, right? It's close enough. So this thing is a notorious pain in the ass to place. It constantly wants to snap to a shoreline, but we will do a little bit of terraforming here just to help this one out a little bit. And I don't want to kind of ruin this sandy vibe too much. Not that I think it's going to be a beach people would particularly come down and swim at, not like Newbie Oaks were, but I just don't want lots of terraforming work here, really. There we go. Now we've just destroyed the shoreline, we can place it where we want. So we'll have it lined up there. So this is going to be a little bit of sort of old meets new here, with the very modern observation tower against what is quite an old sort of pier design, right? But we can definitely get on board with having this large water feature out in the water here. And then we'll just slope a lot of this back up again, so we're not losing too much of that natural shoreline. And then a little bit of soften will go a long way as well. So now that we're going to have pedestrian pathways here, I think we might as well actually carry on using them for the duration of the oceanfront park rather than using park life pathway. So hopefully this is going to work. Really, your straight angle blocks, but the other one's fine. Alright, so whatever vanilla cities, we'll go with what you say. And of course, because this is pedestrian pathway, we can actually zone on it and get some hopeful nice bars on the beach as well, which would be quite cool. Again, it's not really a beach. Oceanfront Park is the terminology that we're running with today. Right? I feel like I'm going to give the wrong impression by saying beach all the time. Cool, so this gives us a nice sort of centre to work with, right? There's lots of detailable space around here. I'd be keen to see what sort of assets we can get growing in here, because if we can get especially some of the university city assets in, then indeed I would be happy with those, and probably a couple of thunder boxes around the back here as well, for anyone in need of a call of nature when they're in the park. Cool. Observation tower is really big though, isn't it? I think it's going to be cool. It's going to take a while to settle in, everyone. Please just bear with it. I know there's some of you furiously typing away in the comments right now saying get that observation tower out of there, but it'll work. We'll make it fit. Yeah, so I don't mind a bit of this on the waterfront, I guess. Maybe something a bit more tourism focused. We'll wait for these to grow up and level up and see what happens with them. But let's sort of turn our attention down toward here now, because we would actually like another unique building in this area too. And let's switch to the grass with trees one now. And we'll just bring you down here. So another unique building I want to put in this one is going to be the Museum of Modern Art, because this one is a really cool looking asset. So why don't we see what we can do with this? Let's go right here. So again, very modern looking building, isn't it? Hence why it's called the Museum of Modern Art, probably. But it's just going to occupy a really nice space within the park. Again, orientation here is really important. I think actually maybe I might prefer it sort of lengthways the other way. Let's remove that hoarding frame, and then we'll put this on the road so it doesn't actually need the pedestrian service point. And then we can have the park in there as well. Then that allows us to have a bit more fun with that building, doesn't it? Kind of widens it out, really chunks up the oceanfront park a little bit, I think. Which I don't mind. I don't hate that. I think it's okay. And again, it's going to be quite a nice addition into the skyline, isn't it? Cool. So we need a sort of service point, really. Let's have a look at what we've got available to us. We should only really need a small one, but because we're in the downtown, I feel like a large pedestrian service point actually might be well suited here. Where are we going to put you though? That's the important thing. Don't really want you in the park itself. Again, I can get a small pedestrian service point right next door to the multi-storey on the exit of the cruise terminal line. I think that's just going to be perfect, isn't it? It's kind of a nice little spot for it. Let's go for that instead then. So of course, these things are based on their size. We don't want them getting too big. Really only where we need the pedestrian area service point is where we want them. Yes, you'll get your cargo in a minute, don't worry. Cool, and then this actually won't need to be it, will it? There we go, let's make that nice and big, and then we can sever the connection. Cool, yes, so you will eventually receive your goods, don't worry. That's just upgraded into exactly the same building. Of course it has. Of course it has. They're all upgrading into the same building, of course. Right. We'll refine them later on. Let's have a little look at some more palmage for the oceanfront park here. So again, we're always wary of getting too tree spicy, and I do think that that aesthetic there is just too tree spicy, isn't it? So I think what we will do this side is actually come to lose the pedestrian pathway and try and do something cool with park life paths as a bit of a sort of park design, I think. Maybe a bit of a public art installation, maybe. So let's grab our exit pedestrian road. We want to snap to that node there, and then we'll have this come out for... Let's go for 5 units, okay. And then I want to get another pathway. Let's go for something a bit brighter, perhaps amusement park path with decorations, right? And then we'll snap to our guideline here. And you're just going to have a nice connection there. Hopefully you're not going to be too awkward. If we can just snap to the angle here. Really want to get that as close as can be. And then we'll register the connection back into the pedestrian streets there, which will blend in with detail, and it's a little bit abrupt right now, but we will change that. And probably without decorations here, actually is going to be appropriate. And I think what I want to do is a little pattern of 2 deep path roundabouts. And we'll do this twice, having a distance of 40 in between them. And then with the last one, we'll do a larger one. So let's go for 3 deep on this side. Okay, and that'll give us a very distinctive visual pattern for the park area. We're going to have these 3 rings, one of which is offset. And we can use it as an excuse to turn it into some kind of public art installation, can't we? Maybe if we do upgrade one of them into trees and downgrade that into something a bit more tasteful. Let's go for perhaps a linden, or a jacaranda is always a nice shout, isn't it, for a fancier design. So we could perhaps have this here, and then within the middle of each of these amusement park rings, we could have one of the plaza's props, maybe. Let's pull one of them out. Let's go ahead and get... This kind of screams public art, doesn't it? This little modern sculpture thing. So we can have that there. And then let's find a bench of some sort. Probably this one's going to be fine. And then just some really simple prop detailing to fill the spaces. And I think we can get on board with that, right? As a... I'm going to call it a public art installation. And again, there's a million variations you could do here. You could change up the decoration on the park life path in terms of actually changing the tree. So if we were to do it again and maybe come down to like a roadie this time, is that going to be sensible as well? So let's go for a colour contrast. Let's go for that red. Okay, and then we've got the red and the purple. And then you could do a final one, almost green again. You could increase its size so it's almost like a Russian doll sort of thing. Again, there's just a billion different variants, isn't there? There really is. So have a little play with it and see what you can come up with when you're kind of making public art installations, again, is what I'm going to call them. And I'll go ahead and grab a different sculpture this time for the middle of this one. Let's have that or something like that. Okay, a few more benches around it and whatnot. And then maybe we can just create this quite famous walk along Orchid Bay's Oceanfront Park. That tourists are kind of always coming here to get Instagram shots right of the, you know, the 3 rings park with the 3 sculptures through the middle. So that's my thinking with it. It might be a bit ridiculous and probably needs a bit of refining, but I can certainly get on board with using pathways as an excuse to generate some kind of public art interest, maybe. Oh, and before I forget, we have also had the train police request that they take up residency in this building on the waterfront. So we will give them a headquarters in Orchid Bay for Train Police HQ, right? Because they have the view to all public transport lines out here, right? They can observe their gradients and their curves in peace. Hopefully. There we go. Wonderful news. Right, so let's pop over now to this side. Because I'd like to see if we can develop, again, something nice along this area. So this metro line is flowing here, isn't it? Are we happy with that station? I could bring it across the roundabout sooner at the risk of losing my pathway, which I don't think I'm prepared to do. So I think we'll leave the stadium here. We will factor in as part of the build. So we're running with some trees with median road here, aren't we? Or road with median and trees, rather. And again, I think I'm feeling another asset, which again might be a bit of a controversial one because I realise I'm putting this next door to a metro station, but there's plenty of examples of real life cities having large libraries next to metro stations, etc. But again, it doesn't really look like a library, does it? It's more just a really cool waterfront asset. And it's also going to help form part of our skyline crawl as well. So I think I can get on board with the Grand Library being involved here. It's going to have a nice position against the road. It's also going to sit really coolly against the roundabout again with all that blue glass. I have also just realised though that this is going to be under the flight path, isn't it? So not only is it next to a metro station and a baseball ground, but it's also under the flight path of an international airport. So we're going to change this to not actually a library, okay? It's just a building on the waterfront. Because I know I'm going to get some people saying, you can't have that there, Egg. We can everyone. It's going to be nice, right? Cool. So let's move this over so it sits flush with our pathway there. It's going to be a really nice entrance out into this metro station, isn't it? And what we can also do here is start preparing some really kind of cool detailable spaces. Hopefully we can see what we can get involved with. Why don't we go for 45-degree angle there, and then we'll do the same out of this side. Cool. And that's lots of detailable patterns there now, isn't it? We can even bring through another path there. And in terms of this space here, I definitely want to lose this curve now because I want probably a bit of road hierarchy to establish itself through this space too. Let's bring this down so it joins the road, and then the tree median can carry on against the shoreline. And I think what I do want to happen here is going to be a little bit of green cities towers, I think, a bit of residential demand because we've got screaming residential right now. And then let's give this the self-sufficient buildings. Oh, wall to wall. Actually, would wall to wall be better here? I feel like some of the green cities towers actually might be a bit too tall for what I'm after. I mean, there is some small ones, but let's just explore wall to wall maybe. And then again, we can use our fencing trick here just to tell the grids to behave themselves. I'm looking for 4 deep, so we will correct it. I think if we paint our fence up along this way, yeah, we can reset the zonings to there. And then we'll do the same thing on this side as well. And then just reset any stupid inconsistencies like that. Cool. Okay, so we'll have this here. And we'll see what we think of some wall to wall knocking about over this way. Should be quite fun. And we'll probably actually start to play with maybe a couple of bars and whatnot knocking around here. Let's go ahead and stick some high density commercial and see what grows up. Cool, but I'm now looking to just crawl away from the major towers as we come down toward the baseball ground here. I think that wall to wall is a good shout, isn't it? Some nice oceanfront condos here. Definitely a nice place to live. And we are coming downhill. We will also extend our seawall key on its angle and road length snap up until this one. So how much further now is it until we really unlock 25 tiles? It's 2 more milestones, isn't it? I'm definitely not going to get 75,000 population in the space we have left over. So I imagine probably next episode as we come to build this area of the skyline, that is when I'm going to pop the 25 tile mod. So we can start playing with lots more spaces. Cool, well this isn't horrendous. I would actually like to just have you re-terraform though. I don't want that slope to happen in the condo complex. Cool, so we have that. And then I'm hoping it might actually be possible to have a little bit of behind condo parking is what I'm after here. So go ahead and get those zoning squares back in. And then we can surround this with some more wall-to-wall zoning. So we're getting those condo patterns kind of enveloping the car park is my vision for that. I guess. I guess we'll see how that turns out. It might look crap. We'll of course come back and amend and maybe a bit of shade for the car parking in the form of some live oaks as well. See how we feel about this as it grows up. I do love these buildings, they're very nice. Is this what I'm after? Or does this look crap? It kind of looks crap, doesn't it? I don't know, I guess I kind of don't mind it. The zoning certainly needs to be reworked though, so we're not playing with any stupid patterns. Well, I guess it does kind of give me that enclosed condo space with the parking behind. The roads are a bit awkward, but it works. I think I'm happy with that. Fantastic. Wait for them to screw up, and of course we're at the tile boundary now, so we can't go any further. So let's have a look at the tree. I think probably want to go for something a touch of fanciest, don't we? The date palm always does a job for us. And then we can have some really nice waterfront condos here now. With hopefully a few people actually starting to take the metro pathways. There we go. Yes please everyone. That's why we're all here. Of course we'll bushline these in the detail time-lapse. Make them look a bit nicer. But also, with the roads, if we wanted to, how much room do we have to play with? Quite a lot. So we could bring them up this way. And then frontage some commercial against this little metro plaza here. Wouldn't be the worst orientation we've ever seen, I don't think. And of course these guys are going to want actual parks and stuff to live out here, aren't they? So let's go ahead and give them an Old Faithful. Let's go for... That was a carousel park, right? Right on the corner here. Cool, and in comes the first commercial immediately. Fantastic. Okay, it's got to be appropriate for the area. I'm pretty happy with that actually. Little cinema there on the corner. And bookstore probably isn't the greatest asset to sit there, but we'll wait for it to level up, of course. But that's not too bad. I'm pretty happy with that, I think. Lots of details to be had outside here, which we'll get to eventually in the episode. So there's one more building I want to try and add before we go toward the main detail and time-lapse, and this is actually going to be the Chirper balloon rides, which doesn't quite fit in here, does it? Is it going to go there? Oh, it fits in perfectly there, doesn't it? Oh, that's kind of too good to refuse, is it? I mean, the balloon is dangerously close to the needle on top of the observation tower, isn't it? That is a squeaky bum landing for that balloon pilot. Where's he going? He's going straight into the towers. You alright, mate? That is the wrong way. Oh, that is an ascent. Oh, that was a close one. Alright. He's going to come right back down over it. That's so ridiculous. Right. The Chirper Overlord has returned. It was like the Eye of Sauron, isn't it? I mean, it's kind of hilarious having that happen, but I know that's probably going to irritate quite a lot of people. But I do like having the balloon rides leave from the beach. Kind of cool. It is kind of cool. Hopefully they won't take that path every time. If they do, I might move it, but I just want to actually place it on the road first of all. Cool. So I think I'm happy with that. This might end up moving in the detail and time-lapse. We might end up putting it further down here, but I do kind of like the building, right? Kind of lends into the whole tourism vibe, doesn't it? And then we can have it here. It's probably be very dangerous, isn't it? I know hot air balloons actually take off near me, and they take off in the middle of open fields, not next to skyscrapers, but maybe we can make it low. Where's it gone? It's over there, isn't it? Watching over the Gradient Please HQ actually at the minute. I'm not sure if it takes the same route every time. I don't know. We'll find out in the detailing, won't we? We'll see how ridiculous that gets. But speaking of detailing, this feels like a good point for it. I'm going to refine my pattern over here, bring the key up to a sensible point, a few rocks and whatnot, and then lots of park space detailing, a fence around the edge of the park, and then the refinement of a couple of these towers over here. And just generally help build it into the downtown project, which has been really fun. Really like these condos over here too. So yes, we'll continue to contribute to the skyline, and then we'll be right back.
But I do what I like and I do as I please. Ooh, 'cause I was born in the 90s. But I do what I like and I do as I please. Ooh, 'cause I was born in the 90s. They don't believe I'm okay, but I'm impulsive, I'm not insane. High on life in the night, no anxiety. Well, I agree, life is great, but let me live it my own way. High on life in the night, no anxiety. But I live a lie, insecure, always on my phone. Yeah, I live a lie, don't really know how life was before. But I do what I like and I do as I please. Ooh, 'cause I was born in the 90s. But I do what I like and I do as I please. Ooh, 'cause I was born in the 90s. But I live a lie, insecure, always on my phone. Yeah, I live a lie, don't really know how life was before. But I do what I like and I do as I please. Ooh, 'cause I was born in the 90s. But I do what I like and I do as I please. Ooh, 'cause I was born in the 90s.
Okay guys, let's have a detailing review, shall we? First of all, Shirty Egg has arrived. During the detailing time-lapse, this terminal's bus line is totally broken, so it would appear that it isn't just the monorail in this asset that is bugged. Really annoying, kind of like super irritating to have a really cool new transport hub that doesn't work. But yeah, so for right now, our buses are having to stop on the road, not in the hub, until it works, which is apparently not coming in the next update, which is really annoying, but whatever, right? So we'll start at this park area here, where we come down into this windy pedestrian path that eventually meets the main commercial plaza over there, which we'll get to in a second, before passing by a thunderbox and a little dirt track that takes us down towards the beach, where we have used the mid-century modern props, and a couple of King Leo's more props as well with the parasols, to create a really cute, simple vanilla beach, just some sun loungers and parasols out here to enjoy the coast if you want to. And I've also included a nature reserve tower as a lifeguard tower should anyone get into trouble on the beach. And then we have lots of overgrowth and undergrowth with long grass, rocks around our pier assets to help create a bit of a sort of, overgrown grassy beach, and then a little bit of green city specialisation here to generate some markets in, and a couple of little shops and cafes alongside the beachfront that actually backs onto the Chirper balloon rides, which hopefully we'll see a balloon take off because they do have a pretty interesting flight pattern. There's one over here right now, isn't there? Actually looking at the gradient place, which is great, right? He's giving them the eyes like, stop complaining about the gradients. That's what it's all about. So we have this here. I'm really happy with it. And then lots of bush lining as we come into the specialization here, which I did change from leisure into King Leno's malls. It just felt a bit nicer. I was kind of getting a bit bored of the leisure specialization assets. But the malls have worked out tremendously well. We just got this really cool commercial front now. I've got some really happy spawnings here with the 1x1s right up against the side of a 4x4, which has given this really cute little alcove cover for the side of the street. Then lots of plazas in between and around, and we just got this really nice walkable space now that spills against the plazas, thanks to King Leno's assets. And something that I noticed, because they have a bit of greenery on them, and there's some new Green Cities towers in the background, you'll notice, it makes the Green Cities towers look less like a specialization, because it's almost like this is Orchid Bay's architectural style, I guess, right? They're trying to sort of build and factor in greenery into the towers and the buildings around the downtown as the city grows up, so really happy with that. And then this vibe continues before we arrive at one of the unique plazas, the elevated plaza from Plazas and Promenades, of course. Actually, is this is financial districts, isn't it? I can't remember which one this is. I think it's financial districts, actually. But yeah, another nice plaza, and I love how the Museum of Modern Art has kind of like sat into the plaza space here. Really cool addition. This overgrowth continues around our pier before the right side of it opens up for some benches for people to sit and enjoy the coast, if indeed they want to, and of course some plane spotting one day, which will be really nice. And then more plazas around the back here as we come around the back of the museum. Into some more park spaces that spills back onto the main road. We've also got a little bit of wall-to-wall commercial growing up here now as well, just to help fill some space where that new bus line is running up and down this couplet system back to the ferry harbour. In our park space, I just left this quite open and green. I wanted a lot of that open lawn space, but now just refined the pattern into 5 rings, of which are all mirrored from the middle, and statues within the middle 3. And a different type of tree on each one. And there are people actually using this path network as well, which is nice. And it also links back into the quay as well, of course, which then goes down toward the next area of the build. We're really happy with this. We've got kind of 3 different distinct trees, and it's just a fun little creative use of some path network to kind of appreciate some open green space. And there's something I've really enjoyed about kind of downtown Orchid Bay's park areas, is that they're very impactful at the bottom of the skyline, aren't we? The same thing over here again as well with this one. I think just the power of a little bit of open green space around high density is really appreciated, isn't it, when you can't get in this sort of vibe. So super happy with that, and then we'll head back over where our monorail metro now flows over. We also have some dead palms due to a bit of flooding that happened with the quays when we changed them out, but they will grow back, of course, one day to eventually look like this. Bushline pathways outside of the metro station, where we've got different things happening over here. A little bit of low density commercial with some parks, and high density commercial against the main street here now in the station, just as we kind of start crawling out of high density here. And then we've actually got a really nice street front. As we kind of walk down the street here, you get a real nice view of the downtown towers here. Imagine kind of chilling on this bench, just enjoying the inner city. There's a cinema a bit further down the road, and all these towers now coming into fruition. Really cool, super happy with it. And we'll definitely develop the baseball side of things next episode as we come to fill this space. And thinking I'm going to put a lot of the Brooklyn and Queens residential out this way. I think it'd be a missed opportunity, especially with the elevated rail that we have here too. But we'll obviously have to wait for that to release before we can do that, so I'm not entirely sure what happens here next time. We'll have to wait and see. New towers have been added into the skyline with commercial and residential, and then also the same again over here too. Switched out this plaza over this tower, which was a super flat one, brought in the road alongside the twin towers from the Korea stuff. And then little car park next to it, some pathways around the side just to help bring the bottom of these plaza spaces to life a little bit more. And then an IT cluster building and a couple of Green Cities towers, again just to help increase our skyline where needed. And then, oh yeah, something really cute as well. We did it last episode, but you guys didn't see. We kind of embanked the rail networks as they've come in overgrown them and then put a bit of industry fence around them, and I think this is a really nice addition into this particular transport hub, just to help those networks sit in a little bit more. It's like, you know, there was a security fence around the metro and the monorail as people walk into Orchard Bay, which is really cool now, isn't it? Super happy with this. And speaking of walking, I did actually do a bit of a homage for some EZP, a bit of elevated zoo path, but it's actually not getting that much juice anymore because this side is hooked in with walkability now. Everyone's actually crossing here and then coming down into the pedestrian area in the plaza and then deciding to get back to the terminal that way. So it's actually made this one less efficient and not nearly as busy as it was as it heads back down over that way now, because they're all taking this route out instead, which is fine. I don't really mind it as long as they're walking right, that's all that really matters. This train line is also insanely busy. I had to add quite a few new trains onto this to keep it full. There was several people, kind of, well, like 400 or 500 people waiting at a few stops. So super busy train network now, and again, this is at $14.30 a week. It got to over 2,000 in the time-lapse, which was great, and it's just one of the most satisfying hubs in the game to watch. This thing is so busy. Goodness gracious, right? This is why I play this game. This is why we're all here. This transport hub's amazing. Yeah, so really happy to see this busy and thawing now. And the whole kind of oceanfront park sits really nicely as part of, like, as a forefront to Orchard Bay's skyline. And the observation tower, I think, has been quite a welcome addition into the skyline as well, hasn't it? Especially with the centralization on the pier. It's given us some nice sort of breathable green open space in the forefront of a lot of this high density. That's that chirper. As the chirper balloon flies back to its base, of course. But otherwise, guys, that is going to do it for today. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. If you've enjoyed, likes, comments and shares below really do mean a lot. Even much if you haven't enjoyed it, please feel free to leave me a dislike as well. I was really keen to factor in a park space into all this high density, and I think we've kind of achieved it. And Orchard Bay's downtown project is turning into a really nice kind of like amalgamation. All these high density, super important financial towers and apartments and these open green spaces that are all landscaped by the city, and they're actually getting used now as well. Really love the use of pedestrian areas as well for these sorts of things. It makes a huge difference being able to have buildings on them, not just park assets. Please do enjoy your cinematics, but we'll shut up and leave it there. Let's thank you all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.